We are very excited for you all to join us. And with that, we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome. This is the third of our four-part series of our IGC webinar series. We're really excited to have you join us. We've been very, very excited about the participation that we've had and the numbers that continue to grow over this fall series of webinars. Just to give you a brief introduction of myself and Jessica DeGraff, who's also up there on the panelist side, and you guys all know Jess, I'm sure. But we are the retail account managers for Proven Winners. We are 100% dedicated to working with the Independent Garden Center channel. So Jess and I split North America. At the end, we'll give you some contact information for both of us and kind of a rough map of our region. But if you have questions on what you see today, or really any questions that are pertaining to marketing and selling Proven Winners and promoting Proven Winners in your garden center, we are here to help you. If you guys dropped off or jumped on a little bit early while we were talking about when we thought we were on silent, but I think you guys could hear some of our conversation. You know, we're doing a lot of things differently this year. Obviously, we usually love to be out and visiting you guys in your garden centers and walking around and getting great ideas and seeing some of the things that you're doing and giving some input. And unfortunately, we're unable to do that at this time, but we do have things like Zoom to be able to still have these conversations with you. We can still see things in the garden center if you want to show us certain areas. And we're really here and we're doing a lot of these conversations. So don't feel if you need some assistance that just because we might not be able to get out to the garden center, we are here to help. So pick up the phone or shoot us an email and let's get something scheduled so that we can still keep the conversations going and that we can still support you during this time. And that kind of leads us to today's topic on our third of four of the fall series of webinars, and that's IGC success stories. And really, we're talking about three different spring stories from 2020, but we didn't, I think every conversation you have right now, it's right, like you talk about, well, last spring, but that was because of last spring, and that was because of the pandemic, and that was because of COVID. And of course, that's always, you know, no matter what you're talking about, whether it's business, personal, that's always still a very big part of our conversations. But what I loved about this topic and what we loved about our panelists today is talking about things that went well in 2020. We know everybody had great seasons. People were out, they were gardening, but there was a lot of stress and there were a lot of things that had to be done differently and a lot of thinking on the fly and trying new ways to reach your customer. And that's really what today is about, is talking to a few garden centers and grower retailers who took those opportunities, found ways to connect, did something a little bit differently, and now we're going to continue doing that moving forward because it worked for them. So we're going to be joined by three panelists, and we'll introduce them in just a moment. But before that, I just wanted to go over a little bit of housekeeping. All attendees, I hope, are on listen mode only, but make sure you're muted just in case that didn't quite work today. We love participation, so you guys have been fantastic on the other webinars that we've had on chatting and asking questions. So please continue to do that. If questions pop up, ask them in the chat function or in the Q&A function. Either way, Jessica is going to be monitoring that. And so she will ask those questions. What we like to do, what we think kind of works well and has been pretty interactive when we've had a panelist in the past, is we'll have presentation from each of our panelists, and then we'll ask some of the questions that have popped up right then. Anything that we miss or don't get to during those individual sections, we will ask questions at the end as well. So if you hear Jennifer present and it pops up while Chris and Valerie are presenting, still ask that question and Jessica will catch us up at the end. Additionally, this is being recorded and all of our webinars are available on the Proven Winners retailer channel on YouTube. So I put that link up there, but also if you go to YouTube and search Proven Winners retail channel, you will find that. For everybody registered, we'll send out a link to the recording afterwards. But if you hadn't registered or this is the first webinar you joined us for and you want to see the video of the last two webinars, those are available as well. This one will probably be available in a couple of days. We cut off kind of all of that beginning chatter and kind of tighten things up a little bit, and then we'll have it posted within a couple days. So bear with us on that, but they will all be in this section. So feel free to watch those at your leisure or pass them on to people who might not have been able to join us today. So just a little bit of overview and introduction of our panelists for today. First, I'm just going to talk really briefly just about some of the innovation and resilience that we've seen by some of all of you actually from this past season, and some of the cool things that we really caught our eye when we were looking at some of the ways that you guys were still able to sell and connect and be in front of your customers during this crazy time. And so just going to touch on a couple of those. At the end of the webinar, we'll pop up our Facebook group, but I just want to say a lot of this information, a lot of the times that Jessica and I are able to see what you guys are all doing, is through your social media. And so we're always capturing things and saving them when we see cool ideas. You'll notice from our IGC Facebook page that if you're not a member of, we'll put the information up at the end. We'd love for you to join, but we're always sharing the things that we see by following you. And making sure that everybody kind of knows about these great ideas. This industry is such a great community, and just from the Facebook page, it's so great to see the sharing and the collaboration and the ideas that are between the members and the questions that are answered and the help that's given. So we encourage you to check out that page if you're not familiar with it, but we'll share a few things that we've seen pop up from that as well. And then after, we'll kick off with our panelists. Our first panelist is Clint Alvin, representing Homestead Gardens, and he'll be talking a little bit about community engagement and what they did this past spring and how they're carrying that forward. Then we'll be joined by Jennifer Moss from Moss Greenhouse, and Jennifer, they're actually 80% of a wholesale operation and 20% retail, but she'll talk a little bit about the Proven Winners package and how they kind of were piloting that this year and the results that they saw from that and what they're planning on doing with that moving forward. I think that's a great story for some of you who are considering some different things as you're working with the brand. And then we'll be joined by Chris Cordrey and Valery Cordrey from East Coast Garden Center. And they'll talk to us a little bit about connecting with Facebook Live. And I work with these folks pretty closely, and starting out around last spring, I saw them really jumping in on the Facebook Live and doing a great job. And I was often cracking up at the ways that they were bringing in audiences and some of their lines and some of their videos and ideas. Just really engaging stuff. So we asked them to join us and talk about how they decided to take that step into Facebook Live, and also how they're continuing to do that moving forward, and give you all some tips on what works for them. So a couple of the things that Jessica and I saw that we thought were really fun this year, and that as I've gone through, kind of keeping a list in March and seeing different things that retailers were doing. And then on a few that I had really been impressed with, going back, a lot of these folks I'm following and I see what they're doing, but going back and saying, hey, I wonder if they're still doing that. And one of these was the virtual happy hours that I saw from Hyannis Country Garden. And I remember being on a webinar probably back in April in CL, was talking about, this was how they were going to try to engage their customers. People, they were deemed essential, but people weren't necessarily wanting to come in and browse. And so with the virtual happy hours, they had these on Friday evenings, and they would make a drink or a flower themed cocktail or something that they had in the garden center. And so that would be fun, kind of the fun cocktail recipe. But then they would walk through and show their customers what they had in the garden center. So if somebody was planning on coming out Saturday but didn't necessarily want to do a bunch of browsing, they knew what was going to be there in the morning if they were to venture out into the store. And so it gave everybody, hey, wow, I really want those, and so I'm going to make sure I get to the garden center tomorrow. I thought it was a great way, one, to be really sensitive to the fact that customers were a little bit hesitant to be browsing and strolling around the garden center, but at the same time getting people excited about what was there. And this was at a time really in early spring where we didn't know what this was going to look like. We didn't necessarily know that everybody was going to be, getting into gardening, and that, there were a lot of unknowns. And so I thought that these virtual happy hours were a really great way for them to take the initiative to engage that audience. And as you can see, they're still going strong with them. So they're continuing to have these. They continue to have them throughout the summer and the fall, and now a holiday virtual happy hour that they'll actually have some teaching elements of that as well. So kudos to Hyannis Country Garden. I love this idea. When people have asked me about different things that I've seen, I even think when I was talking to East Coast, when we were talking about different things that we've seen that we thought have been fun, innovative ideas, this is definitely one of them. So I just wanted to give a shout out to those folks. Another great idea that I was so impressed with working with Batting Brothers and up in upstate New York, and they got online so fast. They did such a great job they did not have an online shop, and when everything hit, they took a lot of initiative and worked very quickly to get order capability up online so that people could order and pick up in store. I mean, and I know a million of you had this undertaking this year and know how crazy and stressful that was. One thing I love that their team did was the kits that they had. So this first one being for March 25th, and this is really when they started kicking off having that, succulent kits and things like that. But also, as you can see, that flower bowl spring kit. So at the same time, having the online store and having the ability for customers to order and be able to come and pick up, but they were also making things easier on themselves too. They did a great job of not boxing themselves into particular varieties in some of these kits so that they were able to work on the fly. And they did a great job of just being able to still entice customers who, again, maybe didn't want to come in and shop around. And actually, Batting was in New York. It was in a different situation that in parts of New York where maybe people couldn't come into the store. And so I think they did an amazing job with that. And then, as you can see from just a couple days ago, they're continuing on with the online store and with the kits and these succulent trees. I mean, I was listening or reading the comments that they had from customers who are so excited about some of these different kits and asking a ton of questions about the succulent trees and the Charlie Brown tree, and just going back and forth. They just have great engagement from their audience. So again, a shout out to Batting Brothers for that. And then a customer that Jessica worked really closely with, English Gardens, and their series, Let's Grow with Gracie. And this is just awesome for a couple of different reasons. This came up in the spring for English Gardens to be able to engage a younger customer, now engage the customer that we're all talking about, maybe that new beginner customer. And they have done a fantastic job with videos and so many videos. It's funny, I was trying to go back to show you, as I did with the other two, kind of an original early video, and they've done so many. And it's just been something that I think their customers are just, the content's there, and it's just really, really impressive how much content. She's very, very engaging. She speaks the language for people who maybe are just new to this, and really I think that's what a lot of us are talking about right now, is those beginner gardeners and people who had success this year because they were home and they were taking care of things and think they want to do it again next year, and how do we help them take that next step into actually becoming gardeners. And again, bravo to English Gardens. I think they did a great job with this series of videos that just continues. And if you're not following them, I'd really, really encourage you to follow them. Just I wouldn't even venture to guess how many videos she's done so far, but they're really, really fun projects, great information. So with that being said, I'm going to hand things over to our first panelist, Clint Alvin. He's a marketing consultant who works with Homestead, and he's going to tell us a little bit about their community engagement. So take it away, Clint.
Well, Megan, thank you so much. And Jessica and the rest of the team from Proven Winners. Homestead Gardens is a big supporter of Proven Winners. And a part of the reason that we really like our relationship with Proven Winners is because you give so much back to us. And it's very special that I can actually talk about community engagement today, because Homestead has actually had a lot of relationships over the years with lots of different community leaders, whether that's individuals with FFA or 4-H, with looking at different animal shelters, looking at feeding food programs and things like that. So when COVID hit this year, there was a real desire to continue to do community support and community engagement, but we really didn't quite know how. because the one thing that we couldn't do was in-person sort of activities. So one of the big things that we started out with as we sort of look, and Megan, if you could advance, please. So one of our first big things that we did, which was a huge success for us, was we were really looking at the supply chain as far as food was concerned, and people in the local area. And chicken was a big thing that people couldn't get. Homestead Gardens is actually located in Annapolis, Maryland, which is east of Washington, D.C. And so on the other side of Annapolis, Maryland, is the Eastern Shore, which there are a lot of chicken farmers that are out there. And Purdue Farms has a huge processing plant on the Eastern Shore. And the one thing that they were having issues in the supply chain on the B2B side was that there was a backup of the number of chicken products, basically breast and thighs, that were used in arenas or at sporting events. So you really couldn't shift the supply chain so that it would be able to go directly into supermarkets. So Homestead reached a way that we could work with Purdue Chicken to actually provide these boxes, and there were 30-pound boxes, and you can see that we did 30,000 pounds of chicken that we supplied to over 1,000 consumers in a 2-hour period. And it was absolutely crazy because we had done the pre-announcement about this particular supply chain in this chicken event on a Wednesday. We teased it, and everybody was all up for it. And we worked with the public relations department at Purdue Farm to actually talk about it. The website went live, and we actually used WooCommerce, and we had 2 SKUs. And so there was no delivery, there was no taxes, it was all pickup at store. And so the website went live at 6 a.m. on Friday morning for this particular event that was going to be on Saturday. So it went live at 6 a.m. on Saturday or on Friday morning. The website crashed at 6:30. And so we actually had to spend the next 2 hours trying to add more RAM to the website to be able to get it to process all of these orders. So in a 2-hour period on Friday morning from 11 to 1, or on Friday from 11 to 1, we processed the 1,000 orders, and we were able to communicate back out to the community what it was. So this will tell you, about the size and what it looked like. There were 2 products. There were actually chicken breast, and then there were thighs. So an individual consumer bought either 1 or 2. It was a limit to the number that they could buy. But we started hearing on Saturday morning, because people needed to come to pick it up over a 2-hour period on Saturday morning. By 7 o'clock, we had 1,000, or we had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cars that were lining up. And every single person who came through said, "We want to thank you for helping us, because there is no more chicken at the grocery store." So I think one of the things I'd like to just kind of communicate to the group as far as an opportunity is concerned, while chicken may not be an opportunity in your hometown, as you look at the food supply, as you look at your supply chain, that wholesale part has worked its way through. So you don't have a real abundance of that in areas anymore. But the places where farmers could actually use help in getting food to more consumers is actually at the agricultural commodity side. So individual farmers who have bags of onions, who have boxes of tomatoes, different things like this. So as we look at the wintertime, and as there are a greater number of states that are currently reevaluating what's going to be happening in their locale, this is actually where a garden center could contribute to food insecurity or to help alleviate food insecurity in their local area. So that was our big chicken sale. And I'll tell you, it was all done contactless. People came through, and it was interesting because our first idea was that we would have everybody who would do, and they would either have to show a piece of paper or show on their phone. And so Brian and I were talking as the whole thing was going, and we said, well, if there's anybody in our community that has waited this long to be able to get chicken, we're going to give it to them. So that's sort of the support for the community that this was able to do. So that's what was our chicken sale from this spring. So this will lead me to the next part of the community engagement slide. So one of the things that we have always done in the past, as I said, with all the different organizations that we've had relationships with, we have typically collected donations. So one of the things that collecting donations did was it required us to have a piece of paper. It required us to educate the staff differently. And then there was always a collection job in the way that we would collect the money. So Homestead, actually, its POS system is the Epicor Eagle system. And one of the functionalities that POS system has is the capability to round up. So anybody who has seen a commercial from Walmart knows that Walmart is actually supporting the Salvation Army this season through a roundup program. So any consumer who comes through, whatever their total is, they have the option and they select yes or no to round up to the nearest dollar to do the contribution. So Homestead worked very hard to be able to figure out how we could continue to collect donations from community members that wanted to contribute to other things that we saw value in the community. So as we added to our position that we took with the chicken to be able to provide food to the community, our program for what a lot of our donations and philanthropy this year has been to help alleviate food insecurity in our community. And a part of that grows out of our commitment to continue to sell vegetables, to help people become self-sufficient, to really provide sort of clean food for people who are interested in nutritious food. So we have a local food pantry that we've been working with this entire year in being able to do food. But just in rounding up from consumers, we were able to raise $6,000 in cash that then we were able to work with our local food pantry to be able to buy product wholesale. So for anybody who's currently not utilizing the functionality, so whether you're using Epicor, which is a system, you just flip a button. Counterpoint has the same functionality. You can actually utilize on your punch pad at checkout. Most POS systems will allow you to put the logo of the individual organization that you're raising money for. So this was a way that we were able to continue to engage the community. It's contactless. So there's no money that's actually exchanged. We don't actually have to put out flyers anymore. People are used to it. So in really utilizing that functionality in the website has really allowed Homestead to continue to be able to get additional contributions. So proceed, please. Next slide. So one of the other things that Homestead has done for the last several years is we have actually participated along with Proven Winners in looking at breast cancer awareness. So that has been a big thing that we have been involved with. And in addition to October being National Breast Cancer Awareness Month, Homestead Gardens is a huge contributor to the Anne Arundel Medical Center, and with their cancer research awareness unit there and everything that they do. So there are several businessmen in the Annapolis area who have actually used their ability and their position in the community to raise money for breast cancer awareness. And it's called Real Men Wear Pink. So one of the things that Homestead has done is we were thinking about what was going to be happening in October. The other thing that Homestead traditionally does in the month of October is a huge fall fest. So over a 6-week period, we will have, a group of approximately 60,000 people who will come through the garden center to do hay rides, to do, corn cannons, corn stalks, the whole thing. So this year we wanted to actually balance it out to figure out, because we weren't going to be able to do that event. So we wanted to actually shift the position of the garden center from an event focus back inside to more of a gardening focus, So we really utilized the month of October in breast cancer awareness to really be what we are going to focus on in the month of October. Well, one of the things that naturally does is it asks the question, how many consumers are actually going to buy plants that you're selling that bloom pink when they're out of bloom? So the one thing that we had to do was we had everybody dress in pink. So we really created a lot of involvement with our staff by getting them to wear pink. The other thing we did, and I know that Megan talked about the English Gardens Grow program. We actually worked with Katie Dubois from the Garden Media Group, and Katie has done a whole series of Grow Live programs over the course of the summer. And she did a 7-part series for Homestead Gardens. So we actually kicked off National Breast Cancer Awareness Month with Jenny Peterson to actually tell her story about the idea of how a garden can provide comfort in recovery from breast cancer. So she started that out, and it's really quite amazing because between the 3 components of this in our outreach to support the Anne Arundel Medical Center, we did our pink shirts for Real Men Wear Pink. So that was everybody on staff. We actually did the Grow Live program. And then we did our program, which was just Dig Pink. So this was the way that we actually tried to convince or to help convey to a portion of those 16 million new gardeners that came into our store this summer that fall is a great time for planting, and that you really can buy plants and plant them in October out of bloom. When we look at the net number and the increase of plants that we sold out of bloom in the month of October, that was an additional 1,000 units of shrubs and perennials that we sold out of bloom in the month of October with this particular program. So I would encourage everybody, as you look at your falls for planting, or if you look at that October time period, there are a lot of new gardeners that really want to plant. Next, please. The other program that we are doing, and this is a program that Homestead has been doing in conjunction with English Gardens and Mahoney's Garden Center for about the last 7 years, and it's called Trees for Troops. So the kickoff for this program is on Veterans Day, and the goal is to sell 2,100 trees that then are delivered to different military bases across the country. Our goal at Homestead Gardens is to sell 455 trees. They are $32. People can go right through the website. And Jessica, it's really crazy. Today, the average number of trees that each person is buying is 10 trees per order. So this is a way that the community can actually be engaged. And, living in the mid-Atlantic area here where we are so close to a lot of military bases, when we really think about, how we need to support those individuals. So the program starts on Veterans Day. We advertise it every week, and then it actually ends on December the 10th. One of the great things about this that also connects our community to the military families that are in our area, each person who actually buys a tree and sends it to a military family can actually put a personal note with it. So Megan, that ends my portion for the ideas. And I know it's a little different than what some of the other people are going to be talking about today. But I think that, we can't overemphasize that the way that our community lives and the way that our community perceives the way that we're a business for that we need to support it every way we can. And I think that we're very proud and excited that our 3 big philanthropies for 2020 have been to help alleviate food insecurity, to continue to contribute funds to breast cancer awareness, and then to provide trees for troops. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Clint. Go ahead, Jess. Do we have some questions for Clint before we move on to Jennifer?
Actually, we do. Clint, we absolutely love the community outreach, and thank you for sharing those stories. I know a lot of people on the chat have really been appreciating those, but a couple questions for you. I know we talked a little bit about the chicken program, and I had a question from a customer or from one of the attendees simply asking, did people just come in for the chicken, or did they pick up their chicken and also stop and shop at Homestead as a part of that?
So if you have ever been to any sort of a festival, and if you understand the logistics with cars and traffic, there was so many cars and traffic that people were just like, oh, we're glad to see that you're open. We'll be back. Because they had been in the line for so long. So it wasn't a thing where people like were able to do both, because it was just insanity.
Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit, just a couple questions about the Grow Live program, because I think that's a really unique thing that you've been doing. You mentioned with Katie DeBow from the Garden Media Group. And I wanted to talk a little bit about when you guys are actually running those Facebook Live programs. So, and kind of why you chose that time frame. And also, how are you going to build on that for 21?
So, you know, that's a good idea. Homestead Gardens has always published a magazine, and it's called Inspirations. And in the past, we've done 2 issues in the spring, large format, 8.5 by 11, sort of a 36-page magazine. We have done 2 mini issues in the summer, and then a holiday issue in the fall. And what we realized in not having Fall Fest this year, and with October and the holiday season being different, we needed to engage, again, that younger group of consumers, that portion that we got of the 16 million who were new, and we needed to engage them where they were. We had to meet them where they were in their home at the time that they chose. So we worked with Katie. Any of you who know Katie, she's vibrant. She is a host on QVC, and she is an amazing storyteller. So one of the first things that we did when we got together, we sort of said, well, what are some of the ideas? And one of the things that we wanted to focus on was how could we actually use these Grow Live with Katie programs to connect to younger consumers. So we went back and we did an analysis of our first-time customers in the spring of 2020 to actually see the number of people who had purchased vegetables. So we sort of proportioned out the speakers that we would have. And, you know, Jessica, it was so great because we were able to actually connect with Katie's crops. So she was actually able to tell the story. And again, it talks about that community development. And it really talks about the reconnecting and giving back and helping make sure that we're able to, you know, relieve food insecurity. But based on what Katie had learned in the 80-some sessions that she did earlier in the year, we actually chose to do it weekly for a 7-week period on Mondays at noon. So we found that this was a time where individuals could actually sit down at lunch. And so, you know, we were averaging anywhere from, you know, 300 to 400 people who would have lunch. And then we boosted it, we shared, we actually shared through approximately 15 different places through to encourage people to see. But we had everything from, we did a couple on vegetables, we did a couple on house plants, and then, you know, we did forcing bulbs, and it was David Batten from Chanticleer who helped with that. But it was a program because we wanted to meet new consumers where they were, and we know those new consumers are online and they're typically engaging in a live session.
Great, thanks, Clint. If we have additional questions from folks as we continue on through the webinar, I'll capture those and we'll ask you at the end.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Jess. Thanks, Clint. We are going to move on. We're going to talk a little bit about the Proven Winners package is what I gave the title of this to for Jennifer. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Jennifer Moss, who heads up sales and marketing for Moss Greenhouses in Idaho.
Hi there. So it sounds like I'm on the other side of the country comparatively to a lot of us here. So to give you guys an idea, Moss Greenhouses is going into its 69th year in business. My brother and I are 4th generation ownership, which is extremely unusual for about any company these days to make it to the 3rd generation, let alone the 4th. So not in either of our plans, but we've both been here over 10 years and we're committed and we love what we're doing. So we are a little bit unique. You can pop to the next slide, Jess, and I'll just kind of go through it. So we sit in the Intermountain West, and we deliver to 7 different states in about a 600-mile radius. We do also have our own retail. We are in the middle of kind of the country, so we're definitely a destination. And our retail is unique that we're only actually open 4 months of the year. So the second Saturday of March to the second Saturday of July. And the purpose for that is we never want to compete with our wholesale customers who are local. So with that, we specialize in annuals and edibles and perennials with a huge emphasis in hanging baskets. We grow over 50,000 hanging baskets a season, and we sell every single one of them. Our customer base is about half independent garden centers, and the other half is grocery, farm stores, and hardware stores. Why this has become so prevalent is we actually had tried out a Proven Winners program 5 or 6 years ago, and basically it was a couple of us pecking through the catalog, picking out our very favorites, and we put them in the white plastic, put them on the availability, didn't really tell our customers anything about it, and half of them sold and half of them didn't. We worked with Proven Winners a little bit to see what the support was, and they were like, well, we do radio ads. And this was before they were into, and I might have my timeline wrong here, Jess, but they weren't really on to satellite radio and that kind of thing yet. And I just couldn't get my head around it. So we actually removed ourselves from the program. Truly, it was a failure in doing the marketing correctly. It was such an afterthought, and it really needed to be our forefront. So fast forward to today, because half of our customer base is grocery, we were doing special programs for them because they're trying to find something a little more cost effective to compete with the box store. And our independents were going, what about us? And so we actually had been in conversations with 2 of our customers. We are very fortunate to supply the parents of Garden Answer. So Laura's parents are one of our customers. And so we'd been talking to her for a few years about Proven Winners, and it's like, yeah, I think we want to do it. We're not sure. And then I happened to be standing in Cultivate at a Proven Winners booth and saw my buddy Jamie Windsor, who is just across the bridge from me, about 10 minutes, on the television screen. There's a really funny story about pink fuzzy handcuffs in an adult store as a part of that Partners in Crime that I'll share with somebody another day. But basically, we decided to talk with Jess and talk with Doug Parkinson at 4-Star and really say, okay, how are we going to make this work? So we decided to jump in with about 4,000 flats of 4.25s and a couple hundred of 1 gallons, and that we were just going to share them between us at Moss Greenhouses and our retail, as well as Windsor's and then Andrew Seed. And then COVID hit and slapped all of us around. So when the soil hit the fan in March, we were kind of like, what's going to happen? And then as we all were very fortunate, for those who were still open as essential, we went full bore and things went crazy. So there was a really fun photo shoot. We really customized all of our marketing, and April was good, and then May hit and things got really crazy. And what had ended up happening out in our wholesale as well is we were blowing through petunias and calibrachoas, and some of my really good customers in other areas were going, what are we going to do? And I said, all right, well, I've got another program here. Talked with Jamie, talked with Susan at Andrew Seed and said, okay, is it okay if I dip into this? And they said, that's fine, I'm stocked. And so we actually worked with 5 other organizations right on the screen that we sent just 1 test order, and that could be anywhere from 200 to 500 flats. And we made sure that they had the full gamut, and every one of them succeeded and they sold them. And so it's like, gosh, we really need to look at this. If you want to bump to the next slide, Jess. Okay, so feedback. We sold everything. Thank you, Heather. We sold everything. We didn't have any problem turning it. Jamie, since she is in the same market as us, Windsor's, we made sure that our price was the same so that we weren't competing directly with each other. And we actually launched a commercial that was specific to Proven Winners with both of us in it. And we said, come to a certified Proven Winners garden center. we really focused on the marketing around the program. And then by customizing all of our marketing and really putting the whole shop local, buy Idaho specific plants, we have a really unique climate here. And to compete with the box store, we really have to tone our product. And that's why we are the premier supplier in our area. So a little bit of feedback from our customers. We were told we were the best in the market for proven winners, hands down. Because we specialize in annuals, we really knew what we were doing going into it, and we really focused on the annuals themselves. We dabbled in the perennials a little bit. We are working a little further into that with Walters as well. And for 2021, we are trying to set ourselves up to run out completely. And so the strategy behind that is we want to protect ourselves from risk as we invest into the program a little bit further. It will only be available to the independent garden center customers of ours. So any chain store or family of stores, they have to be an independent garden center that has a dedicated space. We are going to grow 10,000 Grandes and then about 3,000 1-gallons. And I have given my brother, who is the perennial lover, some latitude here. So God only knows how many perennials I'm going to end up with here pretty soon. But we're really setting ourselves up because we want to make sure that we have enough to supply the market, but enough to get them really hungry for it so that everyone can succeed with it. Our minimums have had to go up considerably this year. COVID did break a lot of our systems here at Moss. So we all know the Proven Winners can is a white can. Well, everything else I call a black cup. And so we really went through the selection heavy. Anything that was in a black cup, I kept pretty basic. And then I went to the Proven Winners and said, I want all of these, bicolor calibrachoas. I want all these fancy cannas. And I said, okay, let's make sure that there's no overlap per se in our black cups so that it guides our customers to really go for those white cups as well. But I need to have enough selection in the black cups so that everybody kind of has an opportunity to get what they need for their garden center. You want to pop to the next slide for me, Jess? Okay, so truly, all in all, if we reflect, we attribute our success with this program is the support of Proven Winners. I can't tell you how exciting it is to see Laura on Garden Answer talking with your plants on her video. Total nerd moment. Really, really neat to have her to do that. And so we really just kind of embraced that opportunity with her parents' garden center, and it has actually given us a gateway to start talking with her. The timing of just how everything's worked out has been ideal. COVID was a complete blessing in this case, and it's actually opened the door for us to try some new stuff and really get creative. And so this might have been a little bit of the chatter you guys heard. I'm going to show you guys a little secret since you're on this call. So we actually took the heart-to-heart caladiums, and we are trying to, for lack of a more PC way to say this, we're trying to run off the poinsettia, and we're trying to grow these caladiums as a Christmas interior plant. And it is going off like wildfire. And so we've worked with Jessica and Doug, and our grower Ryan is absolutely outstanding. So these have hit the market 2 weeks ago. I'm gonna run out real soon. So there's a huge opportunity to kind of use this COVID-19 momentum to really encourage our customers to try different things, because I'm not gonna buy a poinsettia. It's just not me. It's not my favorite plant. I really like to watch them die when it gets cold out, for those who know me a little bit. But to get a caladium that I can actually cross-market into Valentine's Day has a lot more opportunity for us in the long term. And the customers that we're working with are looking for more of a multi-purpose plant now that we're kind of getting into that millennial generation. And so being able to bridge that gap has been really important, and Proven Winners has been a big part of that. That's what I've got, Jess. So I hope you don't have too many questions.
No, thanks, Jen. I appreciate you sharing what you guys did this year. And obviously your positivity is really, really fun. And it's, I think, exciting for everybody to think about what the opportunities are. But one of the big questions that we had was, outside of the caladiums, what are some of the other new key products that you've added to your mix to really attract that new customer? You know, you talk a little bit about edibles, you talk about some other things. What are you guys really doing? What plants are you using to attract that customer? And really, how are you focusing your marketing to attract that customer as well?
So the first thing I do is I never market to our current customer. That is a rule of ours. I, as a fourth generation owner, I'm only 35. I need to make sure in 20 or 25 years, I still have a job. So I am always focusing our marketing on the next gardener. And so we're the experts. We have to garner that relationship and that trust. And obviously they're all on social media. So we're really focused. You'll see this big old, this is Bert, Ernie's across the room, houseplant behind me. So we actually got into houseplants. And so I bring them out of California through a broker, and we've got 8,000 square feet dedicated to it. And so we have that year-round wholesale program to help promote indoor gardening. Now, the point of indoor gardening for an Idaho person is there's only half the year you can be outside comfortably with plants. So we really want to kind of get them to drink the Kool-Aid, if you will. I always kind of say that houseplants and succulents are the gateway drug to gardening. And so we try to make sure that we've got a healthy selection of houseplants. And then we're also trying to, especially with this COVID thing, and we've seen this traditionally over the years, anytime the economy kind of dips, you're going to watch vegetable sales really go up. And since everybody is kind of at home cooking for themselves, they're starting to want to control the supply chain a little bit and not have E. coli, recall on their lettuce, so to speak. And so finding patio specific varieties that anyone, despite their space, can succeed with, I think has been really key for us as well. Our vegetable line for 2021, I think has gone up upwards of 25 or 30%. It's a big jump for us because we only have so much space. I've got about 12 acres of grow space and 380,000 square feet under roofs. So that warm space is fought for. This Proven Winners takes up premium real estate. And so we're really specific about what plants will work here in Idaho. And so I know that 4-Star's been really great with us. If there's something that doesn't work here, we're getting culture information, really trying to make sure that it succeeds. But all of our marketing is hyper focused on the next gardener, because your 55-year-old lady who is your, very loyal Susie, always comes in. She's always spending, so many hundreds or so many thousands, if you're lucky, dollars on her yard. She's starting to downsize. She's starting to say, okay, I want to spend more time with my grandchildren. And then also she's going to look at this new stuff that you're coming out with and be like, oh, that's hip. I don't have to bend over and weed. Oh my gosh, that's going to save me a lot more time, because we are really fighting for the disposable dollar, that income that goes to swim lessons, to family vacations. We're fighting for money that everybody needs. And so we need to make sure that customer, that new customer, especially this year, it's key this year, that we succeed in teaching them how to grow stuff. Even if it's something little. I mean, I'm a moss greenhouse. I can't grow an onion to save my life. I know that. So I don't grow onions. I buy them from the local farmer's market that I sell other things to. So really guiding them through that process and being candid. And so we actually get on Facebook on Wednesdays every week and do a Q&A with Jennifer. And so I would walk around the greenhouse and answer any questions that anybody had. If they wanted to see a plant, I'd show it to them. And so really trying to demystify what it takes to grow things, because it's maybe very simple for us, but the customer who's spending hard-earned dollars on things that they don't technically need in their mind, or it's competing for something else that they might think is much more appealing, we need to make sure that we can bridge that gap, because it's kind of like the hashtag plant parent movement. Once they succeed with one plant, then they want 2 more. Oh, and then they start to get them for birthdays and Christmas. And so again, houseplants, having something that's multi-purpose. So what we're seeing from a trend perspective on a national level is things that start to be a multi-purpose plant. So it grows tomatoes and it's aesthetically pleasant to your view. And you can do that with pottery. You can do that with the right kind of cages. I mean, there's ways that we can, as retailers, do that in our own way. So really kind of bringing the whole idea together for people and then bridging that trust while focusing on your next generation would be the way I would break that down.
That's awesome, Jen. I actually was going to ask you about the live Q&A and you beat me to the punch. So I think, you know, what we're hearing from both Clint and Jennifer, and I know Chris and Valerie are going to talk a bit more about that, is really, you know, that connection point and how Facebook can really be a great medium to do that. So for now, Jen, we're going to move on to the next group, and I'll get any other questions that come this way.
Great. Thank you, Jennifer and Jess. And so, as Jessica said, we're going to move on. We are joined by, I apologize for the slide, because we actually are joined by both Valery and Chris Cordrey of East Coast Garden Centers. We're going to talk to us a little bit about their jumping into the Facebook Live arena and how that's worked for them, and give you some tips and tricks from their experiences. So I will hand it off to Chris and Valery. Thanks for joining us.
Well, thank you. I'm going to start. I am Valery Cordrey and my son Chris, and who we are and where we are. We're in Delaware, and we are celebrating 30 years in the business. We have a garden center. We're growers. We wholesale, we retail, and we have a landscaping business, which includes designers, hardscaping, lighting, full maintenance. What am I missing?
Pretty much anything you think of landscaping.
Yes, yes. So our topic is why Facebook Live, and it was a natural progression for us. We have a radio show that had been running for 7 years. And so going from radio to Facebook Live was a nice transition. Particularly, I love the fact that it's visual. With radio, you had to do a lot of explaining, but when you've got the picture there, it makes life so much easier. We offered classes at the garden center, and so the people looked at us in the community as the local expert, and having Facebook Live is just another avenue of keeping our existing customers engaged. And also our area is growing so rapidly, and we still are out in the country, so it's not a drive-by place that you have to go there. And I wanted to make us a destination. So it's another way of reaching out into the community and letting people find out who we are and where we are. It's a great way, having Facebook Live, to promote our events and talk about what we have here at the Garden Center and what we have to offer. And the bottom line is it sells. But for me, the bottom line is to have fun and enjoy. And I think in order to have that come across, you have to enjoy it yourself. And so in our Facebook Live, we do have fun. It is live, so you make mistakes and you laugh and you go on. Today, we just finished a Facebook Live, and in the middle of Facebook Live, one of the customers comes by, and I made a mistake of waving. So he comes over and starts talking, and he didn't realize we were in the middle of Facebook Live. And then my co-worker got so flustered, she backed up and hit a table of coolers, and everything fell down on the floor. So you laugh and you say, oh, well, here we go. We'll head on to the next topic. So have fun and enjoy it. And I think that comes across with the Facebook Live.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm going to give you guys some pointers if you've been thinking about doing Facebook Live, how you can really get started. And then if you're doing it, maybe some tricks of some things that we found that were successful. So if you're thinking about going Facebook Live, I just want to give you that, maybe you need that extra push, go ahead and do it. Like she said, we're not experts. We don't pretend to be experts. You just need to go out there and start doing it, figure out what works. But I'm going to give you some hints on things that we found that work. So first off, I think you need to make a Facebook team. So as we're doing this Zoom session now, it's nice to have people. You have Valery, she's our main talent, so she does a lot of the speaking, and then you also need somebody that is doing all the camera work. And then I would recommend having a third person that's answering all the questions and going through the comments, just like Jessica's doing today. It seems like that 3-man team makes a huge difference. You're trying to do all the talking and videotape yourself and all, it just becomes too much. So build that 3-man team. From there, it is work, you know, like anything, you need to put the time into it. So we have a reoccurring meeting once a week. We do it about a week in advance, that we prep out everything that we're going to talk about, get organized. my dad always says pre-planning is the recipe for success, and I definitely believe that. So when you're thinking about Facebook Live, I also recommend that you pick a day and a time that's consistent. You want to build an audience, a following, that people that they know. We choose Tuesday at lunch, just like Clint said. I think they did it at lunchtime. We found that's a good time. People are taking breaks. They're allowed to, have some time to get in and check out what's going on. So choose a consistent day. It's also important that you have the right equipment. We learned that the hard way in the beginning shows. We had a lot of audio issues. So you want to get a transponder and then have like audio equipment. It's fine inside if you're just using the camera, but we did one outside and we had some issues with people hearing. So you want to make sure that your audio and your lighting is done correctly. You don't want it to be too light or too dark in there. From there, you want to practice. Practice makes perfect in Facebook Live. I don't know if everybody's aware, but you can go on your personal page and where you go live, there's this thing called me only, or so you can do Facebook Live, but not show it out to the world. So you can work through the kinks of talking. You can get your lighting right, your audio right by actually doing a Facebook Live in advance. From there, you definitely want to create an audience. It's important that you're getting an audience, that you have a following. And then, like I said, you need to just embrace your fear and get out there and do it. There's going to be mistakes. We make mistakes every episode we do, but it's live. You just got to go with it and, have fun with it. So go to the next slide. So some of the things that we've done that how we've made it successful is preparation. Like I said, it's super important to have an idea of what you're going to talk about. Some of it you're going to wing on the fly, but it's important that you know what you're going to talk about that week, and then know what you're going to talk about the next week so you can tease the next week. You want to provide useful information. It's important that you're talking about what your customers want to hear. We always ask our customers, what are future topics you would like us to talk about, so that we know that they're going to be interested in it. It's super important that you get engagement. That's how you get more viewers, how you get your reach. Bigger reach. So you want people to be commenting on your video, sharing your video. So ask questions throughout. You want engagement with your customers so that more people see it. Another thing is make sure it's entertaining. You don't want to just go up there and talk about information about every plant. We do fun stuff, as you can see in the slide. During our Halloween show, we made my dad and somebody else dress up for Halloween. One time my dad is definitely really scared of snakes. So to mess with him, he was doing the Facebook Live, and we had a fake snake in the rafters on a fishing string, and in the middle of it, we pulled this fishing string, and the snake fell down and hurt him, and he screamed so loud. So you got to just do fun stuff. You got to have fun with it. You can't just be all information based. You got to do fun stuff to make people continue to want to watch. Another thing that I think is good is to have guests in there. Valery is our main host, but all different people throughout our company have been on the Facebook Live. It's good to get people involved in that. You also reach their network. So everybody has their own individual network. If somebody at our company is going to be on it, they tell all their family and friends, and we get new viewers. Or go out to other people in the community. We have local businesses we work at, like restaurants. So we did a landscape at a restaurant. We did our Facebook Live there and showed off our landscape, and then we got to tap into their whole network with those restaurants. So it's good to get different people on there, keep it interesting, and then you can tap their networks. Another important tip is to have a call to action. At the end of every video, you want somebody to do something. So is it you want them to tune in next week? Do you want them to check out your website? You put all this time and effort into creating this Facebook Live, but you want to let customers know what they should do at the end. Afterwards, once your video is done, so you have all your viewers, but where you get a lot of your viewership is after the video is done. A lot of people will rewatch. You want to boost that video, and then you can target different people to find new customers and create new audiences. So it's important, the rewatching of the video is just as important as the live video. From there, Facebook is great. It gives you all different kinds of information about viewership, when people are watching, how long they're watching. So you want to analyze all the analytics of Facebook to figure out how you can be more successful moving forward. So some of the benefits, like I said, it is a time commitment. We have a team of 3 to 6 people that help us with our Facebook Live. So we want to make sure that we're getting the benefits of going live. So brand awareness is one of our major factors for doing this Facebook Live. Like my mom mentioned, we are in a resort area, but we're a little off the beaten path. So there can be a ton of people. Neighborhoods are going up everywhere that don't know we're here even within 10 minutes. So we want people to be aware that we're here. We also want to get foot traffic into the store. So what we do, it's a little tip, we do like a code word, and we have a giveaway. So our loyal listeners that know this code word, they can come in the store and get something for free by coming into the store. So it's a good way for us to track how many people are watching and getting new people in the store that will buy other items as well. We've also found that we have more engagement in our other social media posts. People are aware of us, that they're looking what we're doing, they're looking at our lives, so they're engaging more in other posts that we have. Another thing I mentioned is just expanding our reach, getting new customers. When you boost these posts, there's really cool things that you can do, that you can target different people. If there's a certain town or a certain zip code that you're trying to get more customers in, you can boost it in that area to get more people in that area. And just the advertising, we promote all our sales, all our events, all our products through Facebook Live. And then ultimately what we do is we want to have direct sales. I think at some point where we want to get to is doing Facebook Live where we're selling right during the Facebook Live, or before that, you can have links to, if you have an online store, different things like that. You get direct sales from the effort that you put to Facebook Live. So that's a quick overview.
And I have to add, a shout out to Proven Winners, because they've been so helpful and so supportive. And, we love their certified program. Every year we participate in that. And we had over 80 of our own employees that took the class. I get ideas for Facebook Live all the time from the Proven Winner website, because there's the question and answer section and the information that they send out. So it's great to use for your Facebook Live.
Yeah, definitely.
Great. Thank you guys so much. I have to tell you, the snake idea during a Facebook Live, as a fellow snake, someone that's not fond of snakes, I can totally see where Rick was coming from with that. But
and I was getting there. I had no idea, but I don't mind snakes.
It was really realistic. And then we had another one. He thought it was all over, but we had another one in a plant that he was doing. So he had a rough Facebook Live, but everybody else enjoyed it except him.
It's fun when the customers come in and laugh when they see them.
Well, I can imagine the code word that week was snake.
It was.
So a couple quick questions for you guys, and this is great. I really enjoyed kind of hearing how you transitioned from radio into Facebook Live. But when you guys are looking at topics, are you planning those well in advance, or are you looking at, hey, we've got a great load of product that just came in, or hey, here's a specific variety of something that's looking really great? How do you guys sort of select what you're going to feature week to week?
I would say we definitely plan it at least 2 weeks out in advance. We want to have at least 2 topics, because sometimes we're outdoors, and if we get a rainstorm, you want to have a backup plan. We try to have a loose idea of what we're going to do for the next month, especially if we're bringing in guests. Today we had somebody from the Delaware Landscape and Nursery Association. So obviously if you have guests, I would say we're planning out a month, but with some flexibility.
I like to have the flexibility, because working in the garden center, customers come in, and if somebody has a question, other people have that same question. So it's nice to incorporate that into the show, and different things happen all along the way. So again, when product comes in, I always like to showcase what's new.
Yeah.
I like to have everything planned in advance, and my mom likes to change everything 30 seconds before the show.
I give him a heart attack all the time. I don't need snakes to worry him.
Love changing stuff last minute. So.
It's the difference between sales and marketing, right?
Yeah.
So one more question for you guys. In terms of, you mentioned that you have your Facebook Live that's scheduled Tuesdays at lunchtime. Do you ever do more than one Facebook Live a week, or do you try to stay with that sort of once per week, just so your followers kind of know when to tune in?
Yeah, so our Facebook Live, that the consistent one is more kind of like a show that people can tune in, and then we do Facebook Lives for different things, events and different things we have throughout the year, but we stay consistent on the one that we want people to tune into every week and then use it for other avenues. Facebook Live. There's a lot of different things you can use Facebook Live for, but we try to be consistent on our one for our show. We change the location a lot though. I know some people say you should do it in the same location, but we want to switch things up. So we'll do it in our garden center. We'll do it at a person in the community's home. We'll do it at a restaurant. We do it all different places to, keep it interesting.
One of our most popular shows was in our backyard, my husband and myself. Who doesn't want to see the owner's backyard? And we showcased the plants we had there. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, that's great. It's exciting. We have a lot of other questions, but I know that in the interest of time, Megan has a few more things to get through. What we might end up doing is just capturing some of these questions and parceling them out to you guys after the webinar for those folks that have additional questions, if that's okay.
Sure. Well, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much, guys. And the backyard was one of my favorite Facebook Lives that you have done. I loved Rick's outfit. I loved the do you like your neighbors? I loved everything about it. So if you guys are not following East Coast Garden Center and you want to get some good ideas about how to approach this, I would definitely suggest following them on their Facebook page. As Jess said, we are a little bit over on time, so I just wanted to touch on a couple of things. First of all, I just wanted to say thank you to our amazing panelists for taking the time today to help us out and talk about your experiences, and your wisdom is invaluable, and I know it's helpful to everybody who tuned in and jumped on today, so we really appreciate you guys. We had planned 4 of these webinars for the fall. Some of these topics have kind of snowballed into new topics. So Jessica and I are looking at ways to even expand this, further in through the winter. So if you're somebody who's enjoyed this webinar series, we'd love to hear some of your ideas about some of the topics that maybe you'd like to see us cover as we get into the new year. So we just wanted to put that out to you, whether you shoot Jess and I an email or on the Facebook page, which brings us here. Just a couple ways that we want to help, and one is our Connect Plus program, and that is our marketing solutions program. So there's lots of different benefits and ways that you can continue to boost your Proven Winners program in your garden center. Lots of campaigns, social media support, gardeners idea books. So in the interest of time, without going through a lot of the different benefits, we encourage you to go check out the link. The sign up for the Connect Plus program is open now, so you can go on, check out the different benefits. If it's something that's of interest to you, you can sign up right online. If you have questions, again, please feel free to reach out to Jessica or myself, and we'll be happy to talk you through some of the benefits of the programs and what size might fit you best. And additionally, the IGC Connect Facebook group, you can go on and search groups for IGC Connect Proven Winners IGC Connect, rather than trying to memorize this whole link, or when we send this to you, you can get the link there. But if you haven't joined us, please do. A lot of these retailers and a lot of these stories have come from different things that we've seen on the Facebook group. So we encourage you to join. We've got about over 1,300 retailers, and we really try to make sure that it's only independent garden centers who are in that particular group, so that it's really just a community and a good space to be sharing ideas and telling stories to. And then we just wanted to remind you that our 4th of this fall installment, Dress Your Store for Success with a Proven Winners Destination, is coming up on December 15th. That's a Tuesday. It'll be 2 p.m. just like it was today. So you can go on to the fall webinar series at provenwinners.com/fall webinar series and register for that. We're really excited about that. And we've talked to you a little bit about the store in the store destination concept, signing your store, and again, really boosting Proven Winners program, sell through, and presence at your individual garden center. So we hope that you can join us for that. And then finally, Jessica and I, here is our emails, really first name at provenwinners.com, and our phone numbers. So if you have questions, those are really tiny regions that we cover, but we are here to help. Usually we're out traveling all over the place, out and being able to see you, but we're doing that through Zoom this season. So please don't feel like, that support is not there, because it absolutely is. And we will find a way to be able to assist you and get you going and answer any questions that you have. So please don't hesitate to reach out. We really appreciate your participation in these webinars. We're looking forward to talking to you. And with that, we will wrap it up, and this recording will be available probably in the next couple days. If you missed anything, apologize for a couple of little glitches at the beginning, but we got through that. And thank you for your time and have a great day. We appreciate your business.